as the Knicks shellacked the Mavericks 107-77. If you thought it was 1,007-77, I would understand that as well. Do you watch Julius Randle, who's admittedly taken a step back this season,
for sure,
and wish the Mavericks had him, or do you look at him, would have gotten him, or do you look at him and like, I would still like to have him on this team because I think there is still a viable avenue to get to that place?
Yes, I wish he was on the Dallas Mavericks because really the choice in time was Dwight Powell versus Julius Randle. And I know they make a little bit different money, but the Mavericks weren't interested at all of what he did in New Orleans in 2018/19 when working off of Drew Holiday and Anthony Davis, he averaged 21.5 points, 8.7 rebounds, and 3.1 assists. So to give you an idea of that, and I know Anthony Davis missed half that season like he does every year of his career, but that's when he was a free agent, and the Knicks gave him, I believe, $18 million per year, and it was a shorter contract, and the Mavericks decided to go approximately $11 to $12 million a year on Dwight Powell because they felt like it was a better fit because he played above the rim, and Julius Randle doesn't play as much above the rim as Dwight Powell does.
Right.
So that being said, that's the history of the Mavericks not caring too much to bring Julius Randle to the Dallas Mavericks after the 2019 season ended. I get he is not the same player that he was last year. Primarily, he was a 41% three-point shooter last year, and now he's a 31% three-point shooter, and he is so far in his career a 33% three-point shooter. So it gives you an idea. He probably is closer to 33% than 41%, which that was a big jump in his career. I think he would help out the Mavs a lot. I just look at him and his physicality, his ball handling skills, his ability to work off the dribble. No, it's not the best. And no, he'll never make a second team All-NBA again in his career. Maybe he could make a third team All-NBA, but that would probably be a stretch. But he is by far the second most talented player on the Mavs if you put him on the Mavs today.
Are you because the most logical piece, of course, is Jalen Brunson.
Right.
Like, as we've stressed, more complicated than just that, although great. Swap for Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson makes it easier for people to like argue and understand. But We've heard that the Knicks covet or really, really want, if that's too strong of a word, Jalen Brunson. And clearly Julius Randle has burned some bridges. Not to say that he has to leave the Knicks, but when he's flipping off the crowd, when he's getting fined for doing this, when the team regresses, when he regresses, like it has not been a lovely season there for him. So maybe they want to move on. Maybe the Mavericks don't want to move on from Jalen Brunson, but this would be their opportunity to pick up a player that would also bring them some size.
I think that it's going to be a huge playoff run for Jalen Brunson. I'm not saying his money's going to change too much. Now, if the Mavericks win it all and he averages 20 a game, yes, he'll go to a max out player.
Yeah.
But I don't think
how
that's
magical would that be, Mike?
Yes. And then I would say, no, I do not want to trade Jalen Brunson, who just led us to the NBA championship, for Julius Randle. But more than likely, the Mavericks are going to be either a long first-round series and lose or get to the second round and most likely lose. That's probably what's going to happen. I hope it's better than that, but that's probably what's going to happen. Julius Randle doesn't seem to like being in New York anymore. After he loved it last year, the fans turned on him. He's turned on the fans. There are times where the New York Knicks fans that I know and talk to say he sometimes struggles with energy and effort this year. It's like he's kind of giving up on, like, if you guys are going to treat me like this, if the fans are going to treat me like this, I don't know if I'm going to give everything I have every game to this team and this organization. So that being said, New York loves Jalen Brunson. They lack a point guard. If you watched last night, their point guy is Julius Randle for the most part. Yes, Quickly comes in. Yes, Barrett handles it a little bit, but most of the time it is Julius Randle running the point. And he wouldn't have to do that here. In fact, you wouldn't want him to do that here. Obviously, Luka would be number one. Dinwiddie would be number 2. I'm assuming you've traded Jalen Brunson to the Knicks.
Yes.
And then Julius Randle would be your number 3 ball handler, which I think would make a lot more sense for his career. And in his career, he pretty much gives you 10 rebounds every year. I mean, he averages 9.3 rebounds for his whole career. So the Mavericks struggle with rebounding. Dwight Powell's a bad rebounder for his size and for his position. Maxi Kleber last year was considered the worst rebounder in the NBA, not next to last, the worst rebounder in the NBA on contested rebounds. He gives all the effort he can give, but he's not very good at it for his size and capability. So when I look at what the Mavericks are missing, talking to my buddy who follows the Knicks, he said, man, I still really like your team, Mike. And I think they can, make some noise in this year's playoffs. I'm like, man, I hope you're right. But he said, I can't pick you guys really to go too far in the playoffs because you are missing the second piece. He's like, you need one more piece. And also, the Mavs struggle with rebounding, so this would help your rebounding. Could Julius Randle be the second piece? Because I just don't think we're going to get Joel Embiid or Nikola Jokic to show up here anytime soon. So this would be a risk. I know how much people like Jalen Brunson. I want to make this clear. I like Jalen Brunson too. I don't think Jalen Brunson can be a number 2 on a championship team. I think he can be Derek Fisher on a championship team, but Derek Fisher was never the number 2. At best, he was the number 3, at very best on that team. And sometimes he was more of the 4 or the 5. Like, he's a starter. He helps you a lot. I'm not taking anything away from Derek Fisher, but I think Jalen Brunson is a starter, good player. I just don't think he can be more than kind of what Derek Fisher was on the Lakers championship team.
And even if Randle wasn't, you think he's significantly closer, or at least somewhat closer to being a legit number 2. Even if he doesn't end, okay.
I think he's a borderline all-star player. This year, in his year that people are ticked off at him, his bad year, and I get it, he's not having 20 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists.